the biggest cost factors and the biggest design decisions are the bathroom, paths of travel throughout the home, and then multi-level travel. Do you need an elevator or a lift to get between floors? That sort of thing.
Hello, and welcome to Forever Home for Our Kids with Disabilities. I'm Valerie, mum to two with disabilities, one visible, one invisible. I'm a life coach and an author. This space has been created to help you navigate the journey of creating a secure, sustainable forever home for your child. We'll chat with parents on this path, realtors, financial planners, and other experts who can make the process easier. Why am I so passionate about this? Because seeing my eldest thrive living independent of us was a gift I didn't always know I could give. I want you to have the opportunity to explore giving that gift to your child. Hello and welcome to today's episode. I so love that you're here. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. It means a lot. Today's guest is Griffin Simony, and he's a 31-year-old co-founder within the home remodeling and building industry. He's the co-founder of Shift Projects, originally founded as Shift Accessibility Contractors Limited, which began as a home renovation company focused on accessibility with a mission to improve people's lives through thoughtful design. Today, Shift Projects brings those same values to a broader audience, redefining the construction industry through universal design principles and a premium design-led approach. Please welcome Griffin. So glad you're here, Griffin.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
You're so welcome. So today I'm going to ask you, like I ask most of my guests, please share with us how you came into the world of people with disabilities.
Yeah, for sure. So we founded our organization about 7 years ago now.
Mhm.
Originally, actually grew up on the East Coast, moved out here for work as an engineer, and my father's originally from the area. So my grandparents were actually going through a bit of transition in their lives when I moved out here from living in the home they'd been in for 40, 50 years into an assisted living facility.
Mhm.
And I was working as an engineer. And similarly, my business partner was also working in large commercial construction and great careers, great teams that we worked with. But when we looked at the work we were doing, just lacked a little bit of the meaning and purpose that we were,
Mm.
pursuing and wanted to have in our work. And while experiencing the transition of my grandparents, one, working with them, they were so thankful and supportive of everything that we did with them. And I had a moment of thinking, if I could work with people like this every day who just show their appreciation in this way, it would be, selfishly incredible for me. And then as they moved into this assisted living facility where my grandmother was at this point using a walker, occasionally a wheelchair, my grandfather wasted no time and showing me all the things that were still not accessible for them in, this facility or residence where they're paying a lot of money to be there, but a lot of the accessibility features is a relatively standard condo unit. And my aunt, who's an occupational therapist at the time, said, there's no one who's really looking at or taking care of residential spaces from an accessibility perspective, especially from a holistic point of view outside of just grab bar installs or a single lift or a ramp.
Mhm.
And within a few months of that, my business partner, Josh, actually came to me talking about potentially starting an accessible renovation company. And it was a bit of a aligning of the stars. And we talked with our wives, and our wives said, why not? And so here we are, 7, 8 years later.
Wow, amazing. I love it. I love that you want to have a job where there's purpose and you feel like you're giving and people are grateful for what it is you're sharing with them. So I'm just so grateful that you've been able to do this. And like you said, everything aligned so that you're able to make it happen. And isn't it amazing to have a fulfilling job?
Oh, I think about it quite often. I think it's easy to get caught up in the day to day and, challenges or whatever you're working on. But actually, a few months ago, I was sitting and thinking, I haven't worried about purpose or meaning in my work in 7 or 8 years. And I think that's something that a lot of people think about and grapple with. And I'm extremely thankful for the work that we get to do and the
Yeah.
people we get to work with.
Yeah. Yes. All right. So down to business, we hear the term accessible design and the term universal design. So is there a difference between the two?
I was pondering this a bit, and I think the biggest difference that I would put between it is that Universal is designed in a way where it's kind of trying to hit and cater to as many people as possible within that design. So, universal design, you'll hear a lot about in commercial spaces, or you should hear a lot about in commercial spaces where you don't necessarily know who's coming through the door, what their specific needs are going to be, and how can you design and set up that space to, from almost a utilitarian point of view, provide value to as many people as possible.
Mhm.
I think when we start looking at the residential space and the one that we work in, I would call it more custom accessible design because
Mm,
accessibility can look different to everyone.
right.
And when we're looking at a lot of these residential projects, there's definitely universal aspects and things that are going to benefit everyone. A wider doorway is not going to hurt anybody and it's going to benefit all. Zero threshold showers, another something I would call more of a universal design feature. But once you're looking at, say, grab bars, for example, when we go into a lot of our projects, we're looking very specific to that individual, what's going to benefit them the most. Some of them don't need grab bars, some of them need many, some of them only need one. And I think that accessibility side is a little bit more subjective. And that's where in the residential space, we've really found some comfort is in the custom accessibility. So,
Mhm.
what does this specific individual need and require to live independently and be empowered in their space?
Yes.
And all of those things and how we set up for them definitely have universal aspects, such as continuous backing everywhere, so that in the future, anybody could put a grab bar anywhere.
Right.
But that is probably what I would describe as the biggest differentiator between those two terms, from my perspective, at least. And in the
Okay.
residential space, there's not a ton of this work happening. So sometimes I just take the liberty of saying, oh, this is how I view it in the space because it's not actually super standardized.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. Because yeah, the two terms get bandied around. It's like, okay, which one should I be saying? Which is just like with in my world, is it special needs? Is it persons with disabilities? So I feel sometimes terms can be a little more personalized and what works for them. So thank you for clarifying the two there. So tell me, because I'm curious, and I'm sure the rest of our audience are as well. What's the backstory of why you started Shift?
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, I think a big part of it was just really looking for work with meaning and purpose. And when we came into this, when we started, we very much thought we just want to be really good at what we saw as conventional accessibility, universal design.
Mm.
So, we thought it was going to be a lot of ramps, a lot of grab bars, maybe some bathroom renovations, those sorts of things. But what we quickly learned is since we weren't from the industry, once we got started with it, we started connecting with a lot of people. And there's already organizations out there that can do a lot of these quicker, smaller projects for you.
Yes.
But what didn't exist at the time was someone who would come in and look at how can we make the space work for you, make it functional, make it accessible, but also make it empowering and be a space that you're proud to have in your home. Because when we look at the wide range of different clients we have, you have seniors looking to age in place.
Mhm.
They don't want to take the home that they've lived in for 30, 40 years, or even that they've recently moved into, but all of a sudden start having these things that remind them, oh, my needs are changing. And just for them, it can be a very personal and emotional experience to have that. And so for them, it's how do we modify the home where we can discreetly and well integratedly, if that's a word, incorporate accessibility so that you still feel independent, energized, and like you can do anything. And that was something that wasn't really out there.
Mm.
So that space for us often looks like retrofitting elevators into homes in a way that looks like a custom or sometimes luxury item in the home rather than, oh, this is a piece of accessibility equipment. Another group of individuals we work a lot with is young families. So whether that's individuals who have children with disabilities or if it's individuals who have had a recent diagnosis or they've just been dealing with a certain challenge for some time and now it's getting to the point where they have to start making changes to their home. Maybe social media has something to do with this, but homes are becoming like a very big part of people's lives. I think probably COVID had a part to do with that. But even just showcasing, like you do a bathroom renovation, you want it to be something beautiful. It's where you start and end your day. You want it to be empowering and make you feel good.
Yeah.
And so going in there, if there's accessibility needs and whitewashing everything and putting in chrome grab bars with white walls, white tile, and giving this very institutionalized look is not something that anybody is going for.
Hmm.
And so we work really hard with partnering with designers and trade partners, as well as everything we've learned internally to just provide spaces that basically a custom renovation that happens to be accessible for you, or a custom renovation where it's an extra level of custom because we've actually thought about how are you integrating and functioning within the space. And I think that perspective on projects that we've brought and for our organization as well as for Josh and I is the thing that we didn't expect when we came into this, but really drives us forward because there's the change you make in someone's life when you make your home accessible. And then there's the additional one when you do it in a way that they're really proud of and excited about because it doesn't remind them of the challenges that they're having or the doctor appointments they have to go to. It's just a space that they feel good, empowered in, and proud of to share with friends and family. And I think that's the meaning behind the business that only came once we got into the industry and truly understood what difference we can make.
Wow. That's amazing. As you were talking, I was just thinking, yes, we certainly look at rooms on the term of functionality as opposed to how does this space make me feel? Like I hadn't really
Mm-hmm.
thought about that before. So I know when I look at my daughter's bathroom, the one that's in the wheelchair, total care, she has this gorgeous bathroom. So we bought the home, it was already kitted out for someone with a disability. So the previous owner, the lady of the house, had MS. They designed this gorgeous bathroom. It's huge with a skylight
Mm-hmm.
and a roll-in zero threshold shower. And they even thought about the heights of the cupboards, and some of the cupboards don't have faces so that you can store things and make it easier accessible. But I don't think disability when I go in there. I just think you are so lucky. You have this
Yeah.
gorgeous bathroom.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is something I've started talking about recently because over the past year or so, I was just contemplating the values that we bring to projects,
Mm.
those sorts of things. And one thing I thought about is I don't know when it was, maybe 5, 10 years ago, the mattress you buy became a really big deal. And people would say, you spend a third of your life asleep. Why wouldn't you invest in your sleep? And it's definitely more than a third of your life you spend in your home. And a lot of people look at your home as this functional space of does it do this? Or they look at it as a financial investment of, oh, I only want to renovate if I'm going to get the value out. But people don't always think about what's just the overall value that this is bringing to my life beyond finance and function. And then the other joke I make is that people are out there buying like $100,000 cars, and everybody knows when you buy a car, you're not getting your money back. But then again, they look at renos in a different perspective when it's something, yeah, that can completely change your life. Every time I've made my home easier to live in or in a way that adds an amenity or some sort of additional function to my life, I'm just always regret that I hadn't done it sooner,
Right.
honestly.
Yes, I hear you. I hear you. Yes, we are in process of making the decision to actually do something about our bathroom. I've mentioned this on the podcast before. So my daughter has this gorgeous, massive bathroom that lots of room and space, and just it feels so luxurious. And then here I am in my home with my husband and our youngest child, and my husband and I have this ensuite that is so tiny. Why would you build such a massive master suite and put a
Mm-hmm.
tiny bathroom in it? Hello. So bearing in mind, my house was built in 1994, but it's
Mm-hmm.
just people get with the program. So yes, we're
Yeah.
making the decision to do something about a bathroom. I'll be calling you.
Yeah. Sounds great. Happy to help.
All right. So tell us about universal design and how it can be incorporated into every home. I love the fact that you say you try to put it in discreetly. So Tell us a little bit more about that and why should this be the case?
Yeah, so something that we've learned, and one of the reasons as we've grown and gotten a bit more of a foothold, say like within Calgary itself in the renovation space, one of the reasons why we ended up branching out was because we were starting to see, for one, we were getting a lot more referrals from past clients and designers into work that maybe wasn't necessarily for someone who had direct accessibility needs at the time.
Okay.
But what we started learning was that a lot of the design aspects and just perspective that we have on projects was being valued by everyone that we were working with. And it was an interesting, almost backdoor way of making some more accessible homes without people really thinking about that when they're engaging us for the project. So if you go on to MLS or realtor or work with a real estate agent and you say that you're looking for an accessible home, right now I believe it's if you just have a walk-in shower, it gets classified as accessible. So there's
Oh.
all yeah, so there's a huge amount of inventory out there that is being considered accessible but isn't truly.
Mhm.
And the more homes we can put curbless showers into, wider doorways, more functional storage, wider hallways, these sorts of things, the better off the whole industry is going to be because somebody in a wheelchair is buying a home, whether it's a tub or whether it's a 4-inch step to get in, you have to replace the shower to make it accessible. So if we can just start at curbless, it can save a lot of time and effort.
Yeah.
So when we're looking at homes, those are a lot of the main things that we're pushing for is honestly doorways and showers are the two biggest ones because they're the most challenging to change and cumbersome to change afterward. And they also just provide value to everybody. Myself, I have curbless showers in my home. I recently, as you know, had some injuries that put me on crutches. And even after crutches, I still can't walk into a shower or anything. So I'm mostly scooching in there. And so having it curbless. And then once I can walk, I'm still reducing trip and slip hazards by not having a curb there. So the shower is always going to be one of the main ones we look at. It's also becoming more, again, considered of a high end finish and a more high design aspect is to have a curbless shower because it makes the bathroom feel bigger. Your
Mhm.
tile can be continuous across the floor into the shower, so it doesn't break up the space as much. And again, it's just more comfortable.
Yeah.
After that, it's really paths of travel within the home can be really big. So ensuring that your hallways are wide enough, ensuring that your doorways are wide enough. When you're in the kitchen, having enough space between the island and the adjacent cabinetry,
Yeah.
these sort of things can start making a really big difference because at times we'll go in with someone who's looking to buy a home and make it accessible and we're assessing the home with them to say okay, these are the challenges that you're going to face. These are like approximate costs that you're going to experience if you're looking to make it accessible. And the three things that we always look at and are always the biggest drivers are number one, is the bathroom accessible now? If not, is it big enough to make accessible without doing anything crazy? Then when you look on design side, that's one of the first things we look at to plan for that. Second thing is paths of travel. So how wide are the doorways? How wide are the hallways? How wide are turning radiuses? Because sometimes people will have a 30 or 32-inch door and they say, oh, well, I can fit through those, but they're having to turn 90 degrees to get through it. And all of a sudden, the swing of their chair or their walker or what have you doesn't really fit super well. And then the third thing is multi level travel. So our bedrooms on the second floor, and now we have to get to the second floor with an elevator or a lift? Or are we looking at bungalows where we're really just concerned about getting from the garage into the house?
Mhm.
Those would be the three most common ones that we see as challenges on homes that haven't been made accessible.
Yeah.
So those are usually the three areas that we focus the most on in design of accessible homes because those are the items that it's really hard to backtrack on or it's costly
Mm.
to. Once you get beyond that, then you start looking at cabinetry design, so more drawers than cupboards, which
Yes.
again, my lower cupboards in my house, I have no idea what's at the back of them. I don't think anybody does. So drawers are always better, you know, like all of these things or in your pantry. So it's funny because as you start talking about these things, it's like, oh, well, this is just better for everybody.
Everybody.
Like
Yeah.
everyone would appreciate this. Yeah. And so there's definitely a lot of those little detail things, but I'd say the biggest cost factors and the biggest design decisions are the bathroom, paths of travel throughout the home, and then multi-level travel. Do you need an elevator or a lift to get between floors? That sort of thing.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. So I'm hearing the retrofit can be pricey. So can you give us,
Mhm.
I know every situation will be unique, but can you give us kind of like a ballpark of what it might look like to redesign a bathroom or what it might look like to put in an elevator?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so from a cost perspective, it is all definitely very custom. I'd probably say most bathrooms, if you're looking to make them accessible and do it well, they're typically going to be anywhere between 30 to $70,000 for like a full bathroom.
Hmm.
I know there's organizations out there, I should say, that will do closer to the 30 mark. We're typically more like the 50 to 70 probably. But that's because we do full tile throughout the bathroom. Like you can roll marbles into the shower, that sort of thing. And then just highly durable custom millwork as well. We really want to build something that's going to last. Unfortunately, I have been called into people whose bathrooms the tiles are starting to come up and those sorts of
Hmm.
things, or quality standards weren't really met. On the elevator side, if you're in a bungalow and you have an attached garage, then getting from the garage into the house, that's going to be between ten to $12,000 maybe. That includes the lift. The lift is a huge part of that. It's like 8,500 to 9,000 for the lift, and then you're doing your landings. Elevators super dependent on what you're doing. I think elevators themselves are somewhere around $40,000. But the thing people don't think about is that the contractual work usually ranges from 50 to 100, depending on what we're looking at. Yeah. And beyond that, too. I
Hmm.
should always say, one of the things with renovations is there's never really, or even just residential projects, there's no cap on costs because we've done bathrooms that are the same price as the plumbing fixtures for another bathroom. Like it's totally dependent on what the client picks and what the design is, but
Yes.
very rough numbers, of course. Every
Yes.
single one's custom.
Yes, thank you. And I appreciate just to kind of give people a ballpark and just for the audience, that's Canadian dollars that we're talking about today. Yeah, so I love that you actually go with families to look at houses and sort of give them pointers on what they need to be looking at and roughly what it's going to cost them to make those changes. Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that something is going to work for the now, but we also need to be looking into the future, right? So
Mm-hmm.
is it still going to be workable for the person with a disability or the person with mobility challenges or whatever the case may be? So we just need to make sure if we're going to do it, we're going to do it once, we're going to do it right. So
Mm-hmm.
I love that that's part of the service that you offer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think something that's really important to note as well with both with the realtor future planning of homes, that one is relatively straightforward, I think. But even once you're getting into the renovations, a huge value add is having an occupational therapist. Like most people are working with an occupational therapist at the time. So including them just for light design review and helping with locating where grab bars should be mounted, those sorts of things are really beneficial because we also don't want to pretend that we're a healthcare professional and that we know exactly what your needs are going to be in 10 years. We definitely have experience and have worked with people of varying needs,
Mhm.
but having that healthcare professional as a part of the project to provide not only that input, but it also just provides confidence, I think, to the client as well as to us that the work that we're doing is going to have that long term benefit because we're trying to be in the business of it's a kind of one and done, a space you're super happy with, durability and quality is there, and all of the future proofing that we have to do is there
Mhm.
as well because we've entered into too many homes where someone built a walk-in shower 3 or 4 years ago because at that point they were maybe using a walker and they thought that was going to work, but now they're in a wheelchair and now we've got to pull the whole thing out to put in something curbless. We're trying to provide that long-term
Yeah.
value on every aspect of the project.
So I love what your company does. I love the values and what it stands for. So renovations of any magnitude are stressful, right?
Mm-hmm.
Having lived through some basement renovations with my husband is very handy. I'm so blessed. But living through those renovations is extremely stressful.
Mm-hmm.
So how does your company reduce the stress for your customers?
I think we do it in quite a few different ways. To start off, I could kind of run through what our process is, I guess. So, my business partner and I both come from very heavy project management backgrounds.
Mhm.
So, everything in writing, everything planned out, realistic expectations, and have a good idea of what it's going to take to do the project and are invested in figuring that out so that, again, proper expectations are set up front.
Mhm.
The way that we run our business and run our process is we actually have two parts to our renovations. The first part is called pre-construction. So in that pre-construction time, we do all of our site assessment, any testing, any engineering, apply for the building permit, basically plan out the whole project on paper and account for all the different risks and try to identify everything that we can about the project up front before demolition is started or people are on site. After that pre-construction process, which also would include design, those sorts of items, we basically have a full package of, okay, this is exactly what the project's going to look like. And we also try to say, if there are risks, these are the risks that we see. Basically give all the information to the client so that they can make a decision for themselves.
Mhm.
The other thing that we provide them at that point, because we have all this information, is that we provide a fixed price construction contract. So we do fix the price on the renovation. The reason for that is because our primary value as an organization is ownership. And what we want to do is own and be accountable to your project. It shouldn't be on the homeowner to worry about, did something get ordered? Are we going to do what we say we're going to do? Are we going to hit schedule? Are we going to hit budget? Did we estimate this properly? We want to take on all that ownership because, again, and it's something that served us really well. And I think it's a great industry to work in, is we understood from day one that the people we're working with have other stresses in their life. And in all transparency, some of these people are the best people to work with because they know what real stress and challenge is.
Yeah.
And so when things come up on the project, it's not all of a sudden world's ending. It's like, okay, how are we going to address this? We address it, move on.
Yeah.
And so we just try to give as much information up front and then take as much accountability as we can on the project and build that trust so that the homeowner's just like, we just know that Shift is going to take care of it. And we've told them these are the unknowns. This might be what comes up. And then they're prepared for that as well. It's not like, oh no, we've got everything covered. And then you demo and we're like, oh, by the way, now there's all this extra stuff. The thing I say is the best way to end the project on the right foot is to start on the right one. And I think that's by setting expectations and taking accountability of the project. Beyond that, we have a project management software. Nothing changes without everybody signing off on it. There's nothing that impacts client cost without them approving it first. We don't back charge for a change order or anything. We always make sure that everybody's approved everything before moving forward. Share the schedule with the client. They have an assigned project manager. So, one person that they have to communicate with, they don't have to worry about communicating with a bunch of other people. And I think, honestly, the last thing I would say is when we started, again, having pulled a lot of the inspiration for the organization myself from my grandparents and then Josh from his family, it's we don't want to hire or bring anyone in that we wouldn't have in the homes of our family, our grandparents, our kids. And so the subcontractors that we work with, as well as our employees internally, we've just curated them in a way where we now have clients say that they're actually going to miss having certain trades in their home
Oh, no.
rather than saying, yeah, rather than saying, oh my gosh, I cannot wait until these guys are out of here. So,
Right.
yeah. And honestly, Josh and I like coming to work every day and we like having a good team.
Mm.
And we didn't get in business to be stressed out and fighting with people. We got into it to have a meaningful impact and enjoy the work we do. So that only happens if the client's happy as well.
Right, right. Love it. I suspect you get a lot of word of mouth referrals, so that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So I just love that you've taken that into consideration as part of your company's values. What is the client receiving? How are we leaving them? What feeling are we leaving them with after we finish the project? So I just really appreciate that you take that into consideration and just the fact that you would not have anybody going into my home that you wouldn't have in your home as a subcontractor. So that gives me peace of mind. And as you rightly mentioned, parents of children with disabilities have enough on their plates. I do appreciate all that you do, Griffin. So thank you so much for sharing with us today. So before we conclude, though, I just want to know what tips you have for our families who may be contemplating any renovations to improve accessibility in their homes.
I think the main thing is getting in touch with someone who has experience within the space because a lot can be done and it does take a little bit of extra work to do that, or at least to learn about how to do it. The experience that I would share is when we got into the business, we would hear a lot of stories about occupational therapists who made a recommendation for a curbless shower. The client took it, ran with it, and the OT came back after, and the contractor had put in a curb shower. So I think my biggest thing would just be to ensure that when you're engaging with someone for accessibility related work, that they are someone who maybe it doesn't even have to be that they have a ton of experience in it, but just really ensuring that they understand requirements that you have are well laid out and making sure the contractor understands that because they are pretty large, intrusive projects. And then beyond that is really just dialing in on the experience that the contractor talks about you having. I think that renovations oftentimes get commoditized. You know, they're looked at like, what's the best price? That's going to be the way that I want to go. And as we talked about, renovations are already stressful and raising kids is already stressful and you already have so much stress in your life. I think the value of going with one that has a really well laid out process plan and that ultimately you just get along really well with is going to give you the most return on investment across your whole life with respect to the project. And again, just looking at it from a little bit of an aesthetic lens, like all these things, there's so many products out there now. You can build beautiful, accessible spaces. And I think that everybody deserves that and should at least pursue that for their own home because the environment that you're in, the space that you're in, where you start and end your day, just has so much value across your life rather than just the functional. So I would just encourage people when they're looking at renovating their homes for an accessibility perspective to do that. And I'm always happy to be a resource, even if it's not in our city, relatively familiar with different contractors, at least across Canada, to help people get started on the right foot.
Oh, love that. Love that. Because I was thinking of some other families that I've worked with and continuing to work with that live in a different city from where we are here in Calgary. So great to hear that you have fingers in other provinces. Yeah, you're saying across Canada. So that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right. So where can our audience go to find out more about you, Griffin?
So at the moment, we've got our websites. We actually have two websites. So on the accessibility related front, we have shiftaccessibility.ca. That's where we have all of that work. We are transitioning over to Shift Projects. At some point, there's a website for that, but the Shift Accessibility one's a lot more built out. And then on Instagram, Shift Projects, all one word. That's where we post a lot about our team, a lot about our trade partners, as well as a lot about the work we're doing to make homes more accessible. So those are probably the two best spots. And then I'm on LinkedIn.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Griffin, it's been such a pleasure to get to know you a little bit more and understand what it is that you're doing and the impact that you're making in the world of people with disabilities. Thank you so much for all that you do.
Oh, well, thank you for all you do and for having me on today. It's been awesome.
Thank you. All right, audience, remember to live with intention, embrace the journey. Thanks for joining me today on Forever Home for our kids with disabilities. I hope today's episode gave you something new to think about and it increased your confidence on your journey. If you found this episode helpful, do tell others about it. Use the text feature to let me know your questions. Tell me what you want to know. Until next time, take care and keep building your child's future.